Welcome to the Longhorn Podcast, everyone. The most popular Longhorn podcast on the planet. How you doing, Marcus?
I'm pretty good. Enjoying my Sunday morning. How about yourself?
Good. I'm reeling from the college football playoff decisions.
Shocked. Are you just shocked? Is your jaw just on the floor, Danny?
My jaw's on the floor. My head is in the clouds. I don't know who I am. I told my girlfriend this morning to get out. I don't want to see you. I don't want to be around you. And, before we started taping, we were talking about the there were three big games. There was the Pac-12 championship. Mm-hmm. Well, there was four, really, but no one gives a shit about the Big 12 championship. I mean, Oklahoma won, but they're not going to go. Although, one interesting thing on the Oklahoma front is that Baker Mayfield said he'd be returning for next season. Terrible for us? Or not that bad?
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and say we need to shut out the noise and, focus on making UT great again. Not worry about Oklahoma, not worry about anybody else in the Big 12, but, what does UT need to do to be the best football team UT can be?
Slash Baker Mayfield's tires. Ensure that he's not on the field because he is fantastic. I did watch him play. But the quarterback behind him, that A&M transfer, I think his name's not Kyle Allen. Anyway, he's legit. Look, it doesn't matter. But so there was that game, and then Washington played in the Pac-12 championship against Colorado, won. And then we had the Big Ten championship. Penn State won, and then Clemson.
I'm kind of curious. So, just pausing really fast on Penn State. Are you able to completely? Because I think like a lot of people are not, and I don't think I necessarily am. Are you ready to like completely separate what happened at Penn State and like what they're doing with their football program today? Like this is being kind of sold as like a redemption story and like the healing process. And, I don't really know if I'm ready to forgive Penn State as an administration for how because they were pretty culpable in what went down there, frankly.
For sure.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think that for the players that had nothing to do with it, I think good for them. I think for the fans that had nothing to do with it, good for them. So if those guys are having a good season, fine for them. I don't know who from that administration was retained, but if any of them were, then that's not cool. That's the thing with Baylor. Like, Art Briles is gone and some other people are gone, but his son is still there. A lot of the assistants are still there. People that clearly had something to do with it are still there. So, I don't know. I will say this. I watched the highlights from that game, and they're pretty fun to watch. They're pretty good. And Wisconsin, so surprising. I mean, they beat LSU at the beginning of this season, and everyone was like, oh, like LSU sucks. And it was like, no, Wisconsin's actually pretty good.
Right.
I don't understand how the Big Ten championship didn't have Ohio State or Michigan, clearly the two best teams.
Yeah, no, I mean, I still don't understand that. Like, I literally don't really get how conference championships happen. Maybe that's something maybe I shouldn't say that on air, but I really don't understand. If anybody's listening out there can simply explain to me how Ohio State and Michigan, Ohio State number 2 in the nation, going to the playoffs, was not playing in the Big Ten championship game, I would appreciate it. That would be very helpful to me.
Michigan as well, who I read a good thing this morning. It's so true. They played Ohio State to a draw. They're just as good as Ohio State, and arguably they did not lose that game. I don't know. It's weird, but yeah. So there was that, and then I started the day off. I was actually excited to watch the Florida Gators play Alabama because I just thought, hey, maybe we'll have a game here. And they scored quickly initially, and then just proceeded to get pounded for the rest of the game by Alabama. And I was thinking about it, and I did some research this week on Nick Saban. I think like we all do occasionally. And I saw a 60 Minutes thing called The Perfectionist. And then I read some more about him. And his victory makes more sense now because he's an absolute insane maniac. He starts every day off by waking up at 6 a.m., watching the Weather Channel, having 2 Little Debbie cakes, and drinking coffee. That is what a serial killer does.
Yeah.
For breakfast.
Man, I mean, if you didn't just highlight capital T, capital P, that's the process, man. That's it right there. Every day, trust the process. I don't know how he doesn't have colon cancer. That seems like a terrible, really, really unhealthy way to start every single day of your life. But, I can't. I mean, he wakes up and pisses excellence. What can I say?
It made me want to try his morning routine of just watching the Weather Channel, eating 2 Little Debbie cakes and drinking coffee. But I was stumped as to which Little Debbie cake I should do this with because I'm a zebra cake kind of guy.
Sure.
But I wonder what kind of Little Debbie cake does Nick Saban have? What do you think, Marcus?
I imagine like the little Hostess cupcakes with the chocolate frosting and the little white swirl that goes down the middle. Pretty like kind of rich. I don't know, just because it's sort of
a big breakfast.
It's a decadent little treat, and he probably needs the carbs to get through the morning. That's what I picture him. Sort of like, tracking the hurricanes moving up and down the coast and whatever other national weather news stories happen to be on that morning. I like to think of Coach Saban just really savoring that alone time with his cupcake.
Alone time with cupcakes, indeed. And whatever's in those Little Debbie cakes, it's working. Because
I thought you were going to have a great transition there for a second. Alone time with cupcakes, indeed, which brings us on to our next point.
Well, it's not even a next point. It's just talking about how it was just pure poundage, and I don't. It doesn't even seem like other teams in the SEC are that good. Maybe they are good. I don't even know how they would do at this point, but against other conferences. But I don't know, man. Yeah.
I don't know how he does. Like, I don't know how Nick Saban. It's really incredible how he maintains the drive for success after having so much of it. Like, when you think of how hard these other teams work to get the opportunity to win a national championship, and that 3 of them will not, it's like it's just crazy to imagine. Like, what does success even mean to Nick Saban at this point? What does winning a national championship actually even feel like for that program at this point?
It means he's allowed to go to his Eyes Wide Shut party later on.
Right, yeah, like what is he doing this for? Exactly. Like, does he have 4 or 5 families across the country, or he smuggles in, Thai women in shipping containers? Like, what is he trying to make up for? I don't know, but it's not normal. Like, there's something weird going on over there. I don't know what it is.
Dude, there's something you have to watch the 60 Minutes interview because he looks very dead inside,
right.
and very lonely, and he looks absolutely ruthless. They were saying that for him, he tries to be out of the office at 10 p.m. And he's up, having his Little Debbie cakes at 6 a.m. And he has a wife and kids. Actually, I saw this thing where it was. It's like, how before the national championship, they do these segments on each coach and what is their life like and what's their story. And,
right.
and Tim Tebow and some other guy, they went to Nick Saban's compound out in the middle of Alabama. And the first thing that Tim Tebow said is Tim Tebow was like, I've been to remote places all over the world, Thailand, whatever, and this is the most remote place I've ever been to in my life, and it's just this tacky castle. It's a huge castle that he lives in.
Nick Saban owns a castle in rural America?
It looks like it, yeah. It's enormous. It's just an enormous, tacky Disneyland type castle. I don't know if he just left the design to his wife or secretly Nick loves Disneyland. I don't know. I don't understand. What an enigma that guy is, right?
Maybe he's actually maybe the Alabama football program is actually Westworld, and the castle is his land where he builds his football players. And maybe that's the darkness.
He's Anthony Hopkins. He's Anthony Hopkins for sure.
Do you think that Nick Saban likes the Weather Channel because he can relate to being a storm front? Like a dispassionate, just force of nature that you can't really, you can try and prepare for, but that you'll never be able to really stop from happening.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's, I don't know if ironic or coincidental that his biggest rival is from Louisiana, a state ravaged by hurricanes, and he wakes up every morning to watch the hurricanes. Creepy.
He's a creepy
man.
I have a mental image of him just. He's got that Little Debbie Hostess cupcake right up at his mouth. He's watching the Weather Channel, and he just quietly says to nobody, "I am the hurricane," before stuffing the entire thing in his mouth and going to his robot football team.
By the way, I also know what he eats for lunch every day.
What does he eat for lunch?
Ice. He eats live baby chicks. No, he has iceberg lettuce topped with turkey and tomatoes every day.
Okay, well, great. I mean, at least we know that, at the very least, Nick Saban's going to die of malnutrition within the next 5 years. So this can't go on forever if he just eats iceberg lettuce and Little Debbie Hostess cakes all day.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, most of us thought his freakouts on the sideline were because he has an uncontrollable temper, when in fact he has scurvy, and he's been suffering from scurvy for years, and that's why that's the black gums and all that. Another weird thing about Nick Saban, which I love this episode is just turning into us talking about weird Nick Saban things, because I just think that because of the college football playoffs, it's funny to talk to him. All right, so every season, preseason, Nick Saban, he puts together and organizes a basketball league for all the coaches and stuff, but he determines what players come on his team. So he stacks his roster. And this is just supposed to be a fun intramural league basketball thing, but his team just smashes all of the other opponents, and he takes it seriously, and they win. And that's no fun, right? Oh, and he also mentioned that his people that work for him have to play him, and he kind of jokingly is like, "Yeah, well, they better not beat me," but he actually cares about that. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think to in any field or profession to achieve that kind of level of success, I just don't think you can be well, obviously it goes without saying you cannot be an average person. Average people just don't, that's not average, right? But yeah, you've got to have something that's a little screwy and probably a little destructive and dark. If he's not the coach of Alabama, there's probably let's say Nick Saban's just the best, copier salesperson at Xerox, right? He just crushes that. There's probably a YouTube video of him somewhere playing pickup basketball with his 4-year-old daughter and charging her, or blocking blocking her shot into the next neighborhood. And just not being able to get it. They're hey, dude, it's your daughter. You should calm down with that. It's okay, man.
Yeah.
It's okay to lose some things.
I saw it was a practice, and it looked terrifying. He's just screaming at these players. It doesn't look fun, but then I guess they win a bunch of championships. But one thing I will say about the games I saw yesterday, Virginia Tech is very impressive, and I think they'll be really good next season. And they put up a fight against Clemson. I just don't know about I don't know about Washington, Marcus.
I'm just really quick. I watched Virginia Tech get their ass kicked by Purdue this year in what?
Really?
No, I'm sorry. It was Georgia Tech. It was Virginia Tech versus Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech, awesome school. If you want to be like an aerospace engineer, it's a fantastic university. If you want to be, a college football star, not so much. So
yeah.
I'm not sold on Virginia Tech, but let's talk. Let's keep going here. Let's talk about Washington. Let's talk about college football.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Well, I think that Clemson or Washington. I think one of them is going to get annihilated in the first round. I just think that because Clemson, who did they lose to? They lost to Louisville, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, they lost to Louisville, and I don't know. Louisville had some pretty bad losses, and Virginia Tech, like you said, lost to Georgia Tech. I don't know. I think you're going up against Alabama. It's not fair. Washington, they look too small. These players look tiny. Look, these little baby players out there playing their, USC almond butter tofu football. I think they're going to get hammered. I think they're going to get pounded when they go against Alabama. That's what I think.
I mean, if only they had Mike Leach over there instead of at University of Washington or Washington State, then maybe they'd be able to bulk up a little bit. He's probably on a Nick Saban diet.
I love Mike Leach. I love that he put a player in a hot. What didn't he put him in like a closet
he put
outside
him in a closet.
Or something?
Yeah, he put him in. He locked a kid in a closet. And now he's been banished.
And I'm still wondering, what's the problem?
Right. And again, now he's been banished to Pullman, Washington, which I've heard of Pullman. I live in the Pacific Northwest, and I've heard a bit about Pullman. I mean, you've really got to fuck up. Like you've got to like lock a child in a closet and get caught doing it like in the national press to be banished to Pullman, Washington. So, but
it's a meth capital, right? Is it most of Washington is just it's like Spokane? It's just a lot of meth there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge drug problem in the rural Pacific Northwest, and I mean,
well, I hope that Mike Leach gets successful and comes back, but I want to talk a little bit about some UT football stuff because while we're not in the college football playoffs, hopefully with Tom Herman's hire, this is going to happen. This, I would say, inevitable. This will happen, and it starts with the quarterback position. Now, I saw an article on Burnt Orange Nation today that said that he is talking to Jarrett Stidham. Mm-hmm. Did you see him play at all when he played at Baylor? Former Baylor player.
I didn't, but I mean, I know just a bit about. I've done a little bit of research, and it sounds like he's the type of quarterback that Tom Herman seems to kind of go with, these dual threat guys that can kind of keep the defense honest. So it makes sense from that perspective, yeah.
Yeah, and he was good. I saw today that Shane Michel, I think during this season, completed like 61% of his passes. But when Stidham took over for Seth Russell, he had 68.8%. He had 12 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions before he had a season-ending injury. He also can run, and I don't know. I think it would be awesome. Because the thing is, Shane's good, but he's really young, man. He's tiny. I don't know. Do you think quarterbacks should be starting at his age? So I feel like now everyone's looking for like a star freshman to start. What do you think about that?
I mean, listen, I think I think that there are definitely kids coming out of high school at 18 years old that are ready to play college football. I think with like the amount of training and preparation, especially at, sort of quote unquote more elite high schools that are very focused on college football prep. I think it's fine to start a freshman quarterback. I think you're going to get mixed results from doing that, but that's the nature of college football. They're kids. They're all kids. So,
yeah, But with that, talking about Seth and Jared. But by the way, I don't think he's going to come. I think he's going to go to Auburn. But let's talk about something that you're familiar with. Westlake High School. Sam Ehlinger, commit for next year. Probably the best commit in the 2017 class. Marcus, tell us about Westlake. Tell us about Chaparral Pride.
Well, I mean, obviously, Westlake is the preeminent high school in Texas. Proud alumni. And we've produced some fantastic talent at quarterback. You might remember a player named Drew Brees, won a Super Bowl. You may have actually forgotten about this guy, Nick Foles, also a Westlake alum. Both had great careers at the high school. Drew Brees took my Chaps to the state championship. I think when you and I were like 10 or 11. Nick Foles was after my time. Sam Ehlinger seems to be kind of following in this mold to a certain extent. He's young. He's still a senior in high school, but he's already sitting at about 6'2", 215. So hopefully he can put on another inch or two and, maybe even a couple more pounds. He did really well. He's done really well at Westlake. He's an early commit. He committed, I think, in 2015 to UT. This kid bleeds burnt orange, which should make anybody in Longhorn Nation pretty happy. I think the big question marks are his injuries. So Westlake lost to one of their rivals, Lake Travis, this week to get knocked out of the playoffs. A big reason for that loss was because Sam Ehlinger was sitting on the sidelines with a broken wrist, having broken a bone in his throwing hand the week before in a game, and he's already in addition to that had to have some work done on his meniscus. So those, that should give everybody pause, right? When you've got a 16-year-old who's already got knee problems, who seems to sort of find his way into the ER and out of games, that doesn't make you feel super good. But hopefully he's young. He'll bounce back. He'll recover. And, my guess for Ehlinger, I don't think he's a serious challenge for the starting job year one. I think he probably gets redshirted behind Buechele, and we'll kind of have him there for the 2018 season. And we should. I think everybody should be excited about him. But it's a little too early to say.
It's interesting because we don't have. If Sam is redshirted, there is no backup quarterback for UT. There's that kid Merrick, but he's never played a snap. So we would have Shane, and if Shane goes down, I guess Sam would, unless we get someone else, Sam would have to go in. That's why I think we're going to bring someone else on, whether it's Kyle Allen or whether it's Jarrett or I don't know. That is interesting. It is concerning to me. I don't want some, fragile, wussy man from Westlake. This guy, he seems like a Tony Romo. And that I was a staunch Romo-sexual for a little while, but now I want him gone. I want him gone in general. I want him gone because he is consistently injured. It disrupts the flow of the team. And I see this maybe. And I have also been wondering, Sam Ehlinger, hey, Marcus, is he faking it? Okay, is he faking these injuries?
Why would Sam Ehlinger be faking these injuries?
I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist or anything, but, crucial times. He wants to save himself for next season. He's a senior. He wants to go hang out with his buddies. I don't know, Marcus. You tell me.
Wow. I'm kind of staggered by the suggestion, to be honest. It's kind of hard for me to wrap my head out. We're talking about a kid, by the way, who in 3 years in high school put up about 70 touchdowns on 9 interceptions with a QBR of 125.2. Okay. He completed.
Are there any positive stats?
61% of his passes throughout high school. So, do I think he's faking it? No, not only because his numbers don't really show that, but also because that's really not the Westlake way. Maybe where you went to high school, That's sort of how you do things. You kind of sandbag for next season. But, like the Drew Breeses and the Nick Foles and, the future Sam Ellingers of the world do, we kind of give it all in the moment. So, no, I don't think that happened. It would be unbecoming of a Westlake alumnus.
It's interesting you say that because, our big star when I graduated was Chase Daniels, who was none other than Drew Brees' backup. Now, I know you're going to say, wait a minute, isn't that proof that
always
Westlake
the bridesmaids? South Lake Carroll, always the bridesmaids, never the brides.
The truth is, Marcus, what Drew Brees was out there risking his body, his life to make that cash. And what is Chase Daniels doing? Sitting on the sideline collecting checks, not having to work. That is the South Lake way. Make America great again. Sam Ehlinger, he's taller than Shane. I hope that he's awesome, and I hope he just stops being a little crybaby. Stop getting hurt all the time.
It's also worth saying that the game that he broke his wrist, he played through the rest of the first half until it was a 38-0 lead, and then exited the game. So, just so we're clear, this he's tough, but you break your throwing hand wrist, it's going to be an issue.
To me, it sounds like he doesn't finish. To me, I hear someone that doesn't finish what he started, and that's an issue for me on the team. But enough about quarterbacks. Let's talk about running backs. I think you had some questions about running backs, Marcus.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot of questions about running backs with Dante Foreman, saying, "Hey, thanks for the memories, Austin. I'm declaring for the draft next year. I'm going to strike while the iron's hot." Who's going to be carrying the rock for University of Texas? What does our backfield look like next year, Danny?
That hurricane we were talking about, Nick Saban watching every morning, is Chris Warren III.
Oh, wow.
Chris Warren.
Strong language.
Nick knows right now what's coming for him. Chris Warren is dynamic. You saw he's powerful. He doesn't cut as fast as Dante Foreman, but he's a large, bruising man. Last year he averaged 5.9 yards per carry, and he didn't even play that many games because I think he really came into his own in Texas Tech. But yeah, he's a boss. In the beginning of this season, he was doing great until he got injured. But the thing is, behind him we have Kyle Porter, who 4.5 average yards per play. And I don't, when I see Kyle Porter, it makes me ill. It makes me want to vomit. I don't like anything about him. He hops around like some idiot. He's trying to miss tackles. He doesn't put his shoulder down and barrel in there. And that's not the type of players I want playing for UT. And I want him gone. But the problem is we have no running back commit right now in the 2017 class. So right now it seems as though we're stuck. No, we're glad to have the Hurricane Chris Warren, but we're stuck with backup Kyle Porter.
Okay, so you're feeling confident about our starting running back. You're a little concerned about depth. But again, Tom Herman's only been in his seat for a couple of days, and it's rumored that he basically hit the road to start recruiting the minute he got there. So it'll be an interesting. I'm excited to follow this on the podcast over the next few weeks and months as Tom Herman continues to recruit for next year and where that sort of plugs those holes and fills in those blanks. Do you think Warren is going to be the right fit for Tom Herman's offense?
I think Warren's the right fit for any offense. There's no way that anybody can't utilize him. He can get you yards. He can overpower people. He's strong. But again, like I said, he maybe can't he can't beat people on the corner, So I guess he could some, but that's not really what he's known for. He's just known for barreling over dudes. It'll be really fun to watch him against a team like Texas Tech. I don't know. I'm curious. I'm curious to see where he picks up, because the thing is, Dante was kind of a play. I don't know if Chris Warren is the best running back since Ricky Williams, but definitely since Jamal Charles. Wish he would have stuck around longer, but it is what it is. Marcus, what do you think about Tom Herman having 10-minute meetings with all of the assistants at UT and then firing everyone?
I guess I kind of get it. I mean, you got to feel a little bad for those folks that lost their jobs. I mean, that's never like fun or that funny.
They were losers.
I stand corrected. But yeah, I mean, I get it. You know, you come in like what was there wasn't working. You know, he needed to. I think Tom Herman should make the program his own as quickly as humanly possible because, as he knows and everybody else knows, you know, the clock's running. So I think it's better to not be political and to just rip the Band-Aid off if he because obviously he kind of knew he was going to do that, right? Like you don't give somebody 10 minutes to save their job and just say, oh yeah, everybody's going to get 10 minutes to save their job. But he's obviously going to fire everybody from the beginning. I think maybe he kept like one person, right? Like somebody got spared and then that person's going to have survivor's guilt. They're going to be like, why me? Like, what did I do? That's going to be weird for them. But yeah, no, I think it's probably a good thing. What about you?
I can't agree more. The season that they just put us through was unbelievable, terrible. It will stick with me for the rest of my life, and I want everyone that is associated with it on the coaching side removed in general. I want them gone. So I'm happy. I wanted a complete cleaning house. I'm still curious as to who our offensive coordinator is going to be because, you know, the ongoing major Applewhite scandal. I don't know if we can have him here. I've actually heard that Lane Kiffin is going to go interview for the Houston job, which that was supposed to be Major Applewhite's.
Well, I've also heard Les Miles is interviewing for that job, which makes me wonder, like, is it that hot of a coaching job? Like, do people really want to take over that Houston team? Like, am I missing something?
I think it might be for I don't know if there is a lack of vacancies. I have no idea why everyone wants to go coach at Houston. I wouldn't want to live in Houston. It's good to visit. There's great Asian food.
I would live in Houston. I would live in Houston. It's a nice town. Yeah,
you would.
I would live there.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I guess. Okay. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
I think Houston gets a bad rap.
I
think Houston's like one of these towns. It's huge. It's a sprawl. And it's. I think it can be kind of impenetrable, but it's got great food. It's got great culture. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to see in Houston and do in Houston.
I think the 100% humidity at 115 degrees daily in the summer is what turns me off.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but I've reached sort of a zen state when it comes to my personal sweat. Like I just know that I'm going to. I don't get stressed about it anymore. I don't fight it. I don't. It's a blameless act. It's hot. I'm going to be hot, and
it's schwitz whether you like it or not.
Yeah, and exactly. And to your point, nothing wrong with a good schwitz.
There is nothing wrong with a good schwitz. That's about all I've got for today, Marcus. I want to talk about our guest next week. Someone that we're very excited about. He is an expert in Longhorn football, high school football. Coach Taylor.
Coach Eric Taylor coming on the show.
Coach Eric Taylor. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Eric Taylor is going to be on the show. The inspiration. I got to have a quick conversation with him before just to get prepped. And it made me feel like I could be a quarterback of this podcast. It made me feel very good inside. Marcus, what makes you most excited about interviewing Coach Taylor next week?
Probably, so I got an email from him this week kind of as we were going back and forth about him coming on the show. And,
absolutely.
And the subject just said, I want to talk to you about something, ... And the email was blank. And I was really intrigued. I was like, Coach T wants to talk to me about something. I wonder what it is. So as much as like I'm excited about interviewing him and picking his brain, I'm kind of like just curious what he wants to talk to me about because he seemed like pretty intent that he wanted to talk to me about something. So we'll see.
Yeah. I got a similar message. It was a voicemail and it just said, I'm proud of you.
Wow. He's such a class act. I mean, he's such a class act. That's awesome.
He values family, and he values football, maybe equally. But the thing is, football and the players, they are his family. So there's a lot to talk about and a lot of inspiration to have, and I'm very excited about it. But Marcus, have a good rest of your week. Very excited to see what happens with the college football playoffs. So we'll talk next week, and we'll talk to Coach Taylor.
All right, sounds good. Everybody, thank you for listening to the Longhorn podcast. We'll be back next week with Coach Taylor and continuing discussions around college football, UT, and more. Talk to you soon.
Oh, all right, great. Ciao.